Hey guys, welcome back to Cap View. So today we're going to be talking about lots of upcoming DC EU news. So this is really exciting. So strap in because we've got a lot to cover. So get your snacks because this is going to be a very long discussion about what is coming up in the DC EU. So everybody who's a DC fan, you're going to really enjoy this I think discussion, if you will. So I'm just going to basically relay information that I've seen and researched and been made aware of, basically, so you guys can get that information. So let's start with the first thing because there's a lot to cover. So Walter Hamada, who basically runs the DC characters that we know and love, did a interview with the New York Times, which was printed on the 27th, and it's an article. You guys can go and read it, and in that article he basically talks about a lot of the stuff that's coming up in the DC EU. So we covered characters like Wonder Woman and Batman and Suicide Squad and all these movies that are basically going to be coming up, and how the DC EU is pretty much going to shape looking forward in the future. So in this article, it basically says starting from 2022, they're going to be releasing or trying to release up to 4 big franchise DC films per year. And then also 2 experimental maybe experimental films on HBO Max, which is, so HBO Max is owned by Warner Media, which is basically Warner Brothers streaming service, if you will. So they need to put content on HBO Max. So they're going to be putting 2 films per year, supposedly, again starting from 2022. On HBO Max. So far what we have going, the 2 films that they've got in the works are supposedly for HBO Max to be going there, Batgirl and Static Shock. I've never heard of Static Shock. I think most people have heard of Batgirl. Now let me just quickly touch on that real quick. So again, these are definitely experimental. They could go well, they could go very badly. So I think it's a smart decision to put them on HBO Max. I also think it's a smart decision looking at it from a business model, because again, they need to get subscribers on HBO Max. You know, Disney Plus has a shit ton of subscribers on their streaming service, which is a lot more. HBO Max is like at the bottom at the moment. And then of course at the top you have Netflix, that is like king of the pyramid. So, you know, HBO needs to get a lot of subscribers real quick. I believe they probably got quite a few with Wonder Woman 84 being released on HBO. You know, that was a big thing. We've also got the Snyder Cut coming in March on HBO. So, these are exciting things, but they still need to continuously have subscribers generating on HBO Max to compete with all these other streaming services, of course. So, yeah, 2 films. And then also, I believe that in the article, it said it was going to be up to 25 in total potential spin-off series that are going to come from the films as well, or work into the film. So basically what they're doing is they're working with filmmakers to tie in to these bigger franchises through their HBO, you know, miniseries, if you will, or just full series. I don't know how they're going to go about each project, obviously. But basically, they're doing a multiverse, essentially. They're doing what the MCU is doing, where the TV shows might have little nuggets or like, you know, clues and things that may lead into the bigger franchised films. So as I said, they said that they're going to be doing 4 major franchise films per year. So when I first read this, I was just like, oh, 4 DC films a year is nothing. That's alright, it's decent. It's like 1 film per quarter. And then I realized it said major. So I was like, wait a second, like 4 major franchise DC films per year? That's a lot, and that's a lot of pressure. Now, to be fair, the article said up to 4. So not necessarily gonna get like, you know, Wonder Woman 3, Aquaman 2, whatever. Like, it's not necessarily gonna be 4, but it said up to 4. So that's a lot if they could pull that off. Now, so speaking of the films that we're going to get, so I've mentioned to you guys that Static Shock and Batgirl are in the works. Now, I don't know how popular Batgirl is going to be, because of, I feel like there are a lot of people that have a bit of a sour taste left in their mouth from the Batwoman series, which I believe is starting on season 2 now with a different actress, because obviously Ruby Rose left that project, and it didn't get very favorable critic reviews, or audience reviews, to be fair. So let's see how they go with season 2. But I feel like, I don't know, I don't know if that's really the right project now, and I think that obviously it would be I think it would have to obviously be live action, and I believe it would have to be done very well to compete or be in the works of being something more than like a one-off film, because they don't want to be doing that, and we don't really want to see that. So we want to have characters that are imaginative and that are impactful and that are done really well. So I think that, now again, remember we're talking 22 onwards, so these projects might not even come to HBO Max until 2023, so or late in the 2022 quarter. So but yeah, at the moment, obviously currently in the state we're in at the moment, there's a lot of Batman centric stuff going on, and I'll get to it in a minute. But the first example is obviously Batwoman, the TV show. Now we're gonna have a Batgirl film, like an actual film, not just a spin-off again. So they're gonna do a Batgirl film on HBO Max. So yeah, again, currently I don't know if that's a great idea. I think though, if we're talking about 2022, 2023, I think if it's a live action film and it's done really well and they get good casting and good writers, which is very important, and the film is good, I think it'll do good. And that's what we all want at the end of the day. We want good films, good characters, characters that don't take away from another character. We don't want somebody, I'll speak for myself, I should stop saying we, like there's, I don't want somebody that's gonna shit on Batman, put it that way. I'm not a fan of that. So I want someone that works alongside Batman, or at least is in his world. They can stand on their own by all means, but not taking away from another character, because everybody loves Batman. I mean, everybody loves, I love Batman, so like, we don't want to take away from that, so anyway, so there's that, and then there's, again, a film called Static Shock, which is a DC character, obviously. I've never heard of this character, so I think that is probably the riskier one of the two, to be honest with you, depending how you look at it, of course. Now, if you were to tell me that right now, these two films, back to back or compared to each other, now obviously they're not supposed to compete with each other. They're both DC films, both DC properties on DC's streaming service. However, people will make comparisons, and movies always get rated. Look what has happened with the Wonder Woman film, for example. So if it was me now and these two films were coming down, honestly, I'd actually probably say that Static Shock had more of a chance of being more well received, just because, again, of the controversy that surrounded a female character in the Batman universe at this stage. However, of course, we've also then got Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves as the Batman coming up, which of course features Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, which is a female in the Batman universe. So so there's that as well. And again, this is why I said there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Batman, because that in itself is a whole discussion. I'm gonna try and get through as much of it as I can for you guys. So basically we've got so they're doing the multiverse. So they're pretty much going to have a Earth 1, which is your Wonder Woman, your Superman, your Ben Affleck Batman. I'm air quoting because Ben Affleck is clearly not going to be Batman anymore. So you have the OG trio, and then you've got Earth 2, which is going to feature Robert Pattinson's The Batman, and he's completely in a separate universe, not connected to the other DC characters. So they live in separate Earths, and obviously these different characters exist in their own worlds, which is, I think, really fucking cool. I like the multiverse concept, in theory. It has to be done right, though. It has to be timed right. It has to be done well. I think that they very much need to listen to DC fans and and audience in general, as to what people want to see in these upcoming films, and how these characters need to be done right. But yeah, so let's go back to the Batman first of all. So we've got Robert Pattinson's The Batman coming out in Earth 2, right? And then we've got Ben Affleck, who was our current Batman. Technically still is our current Batman, because he will be featured on the Flash film, and he will be basically doing his farewell as the character. So Ben Affleck, this was said in the article as well, I think, but Ben Affleck is going to be recast, which we all pretty much knew already. So that's really fucking interesting, first of all. Like, that's very interesting information to have an official sort of word saying that obviously Ben Affleck is being recast as Batman. Now, this is my question. This is the initial questions that were raised for me when it was sort of confirmed, which is, I mean, I had this question before anyway, but my question is obviously, one, everyone wants to know who's going to be the new Batman. So one, who's going to be cast to replace Ben Affleck? Because, you know, whether you're in the Ben Affleck camp or not, you know, I think Ben Affleck as a Batman did a good job, and he was very loved by a lot of the DC fans. So I think it's going to be hard to replace him, and I think, again, it's going to go down to casting, and it's going to go down to writing and how you're going to integrate that, because that is my second question. Now, it's very confusing, so I'm going to try and explain to you guys. So here's the thing. So Ben Affleck's Batman is going to appear in The Flash. I don't know how much of a role he's going to have in that film. I think it would be quite substantial, though, from what I've heard. I've heard that, you know, that Batman and Flash have a really tight relationship, and it's going to be very impactful. This is what was said about the film by the director, the Flash director. So I think that he's going to be in it substantially, and, you know, he's, even if not, because it seems like there's a lot going on in this film, but I think he's going to have a fairly decent role in the film. I also feel that way because we are also going to travel between the Ben Affleck Batman, which is obviously current to Flash's current time period, and then he's going to be also going back, or traveling through time obviously, to Michael Keaton's Batman. So that Flash film is going to have two Batmen at the same time in that film, which is going to be totally bananas. Just first of all, just to see that in live action, especially with Keaton's Batman, that's just going to be crazy. And that could, honestly, just that being in the Flash film could make the Flash film $1 billion film, $2 billion film just for that, if it's done well, to just please the fans. Because then you're going to please the current fans that have, you know, recently, you know, grown up with Affleck, and then you're going to please the OG fans that had grown up with Keaton's Batman and now, you know, just join that together. It would be even cooler, I guess, for those fans of Ben Affleck's Batman if he wasn't dying or being, you know, left somewhere where we're never going to see him again, or the gap's got to be closed. You know, it's going to be something like that, obviously, because he's not returning as Batman. So, yeah, they've said, like I said, that he's going to be recast. So, yeah, I'm very interested to see who they cast. There were talks of Armie Hammer back for the Robert Pattinson casting. I personally, and I know this is probably, like, not a very popular, like, choice, but I kind of always, and I don't love this actor, but he just looks like Batman to me, and that is Jon Hamm. Now, Jon Hamm is like 49 years old, so I don't know how many years of Batman we could really get out of him, or what type he would be. I just feel like he looks like the older, suave, elegant, kind of arrogant, cocky, he can play that slightly smug character, he can do all those things, and he just looks like Batman. I mean, and he's, you know, he's an older dude that I think would fill the role well. But I think that's just my personal preference, because I think more so also because I just don't see somebody else maybe in the role. Like when Ben Affleck was cast, I wasn't a fan of that casting choice. The same way I'm not really a fan of the Robert Pattinson choice, although I can see, it's weird because I can actually see Pattinson in the Batman role much more than I did with Ben, which is interesting. And even after BVS and Justice League, you know, I hated the suit in BVS. Anyway, it's a whole different discussion. But my point is that, like, yeah, it's we're gonna have. I talked about this 4 months ago. If you haven't watched my my so many Batman upload, I did actually discuss all of this already in that upload. So I'll see if I can put a card up here somewhere, and you guys can go back and watch that if you want. But anyway, so we're gonna have the Flash film, and he's gonna be traveling through time. Now, I believe that the characters of the Justice League might also appear in this film, and the reason I say that is because obviously Ben Affleck's Batman is going to die. I mean, I'm assuming he's gonna die because Wonder Woman, Superman, they're all in the same universe as the Flash. So he doesn't have to travel to get any of these characters. He travels and gets Keaton's character. So that's going to be a whole thing just to see how they integrate. I mean, it's one thing which is, again, bananas just to have Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck, like, talking to each other, both as Batman. But then if you add the Justice League cast or any members coming in for, like, a cameo to tie into the storyline, that's going to be even crazier. I don't know if they're going to do that, but I just think that they might do that. Now, I don't know how that's going to work with Cyborg, because if you guys, again, this is a piece of information, if you guys don't know, Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg in Justice League, has, you know, said that he's not doing any more DC films, and he refuses to do any DC films under the rulings of Walter Hamada, basically. So he's just not gonna participate any further as Cyborg, as the character. So they're obviously going to recast Ray Fisher as Cyborg. They're going to recast Ben Affleck as Batman. So we've already got 2 characters being recast. Gal Gadot, I don't think is going anywhere. Cavill, we don't know yet. We still don't know what is going with Cavill, which is really really depressing and upsetting, because I really can't see anybody else being Superman, unless it was like a complete flip, and we go like to like young, really young Superman, because I could not see somebody else playing Cavill level or older type of Superman. It would have to be a very young, different world type of Superman, and I don't really want that to happen. So fingers crossed that that doesn't happen. But like I said, again, we know that, you know, Ben and Ray are being recast. So that's going to be interesting. So yeah, this Flash film that's coming out is going to be, I feel like, a game changer, because it's going to be basically, I believe, Flashpoint, which is going to reboot the entire DC EU universe. So I think that that's how they're going to do it. I mean, then again, you could also look at it from the point where, I mean, you've got, you know, Zack Snyder's Justice League coming up, and Cyborg is much more, he's featured a lot more in this film. Even Zack Snyder himself, I believe, said that Cyborg is like the heart of that film, kind of like the Iron Man of the characters. So, which is really interesting, because in the first Justice League, you had, you know, Batman really being the leader of all these characters, and, you know, Wonder Woman kind of being like a side part to that as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see how much of a part Cyborg gets in this. And from what I've, you know, heard and what has been told, it's going to be significant. So that's going to be really interesting too. However, you could potentially have Cyborg die in that film, and then have Batman die in the Flash film. So therefore, you don't really need to reboot everything through Flashpoint. You could just recast them, like, somehow, like, through just story, good writing, basically, without having to go into, like, different universes to get these characters replaced, and, like, have some secret character that has the same powers and they just become that in a different world. Maybe you could just have that in the same world through good writing. But again, I have no idea if that's even a thing. We haven't obviously seen the Snyder Cut yet, and that hasn't been mentioned at all. So for all we know, it could very well go through the Flash film where Flash basically rewrites everything through Flashpoint traveling into basically multi-dimensional traveling or crossing worlds through Speed Force. So that could be a thing. I mean, that is obviously how he's going to get Keaton's Batman first of all. So it could just rewrite everything in that sense. But yeah, hopefully our major heroes, or at least the ones I love very much, will remain to be cast as the way they've already been. So obviously we've got, in terms of movies coming up, we've obviously got, you know, Gal Gadot returning as Wonder Woman in Wonder Woman 3, which was already, I don't know, it's weird how, it's really funny to me how, like, everybody's, like, being like, oh my god, Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot are going to return for Wonder Woman 3, like, it's news. It's like, that was already greenlit. It was greenlit through contract ages ago. It was already in motion, set as a trilogy, and Patty Jenkins already had said before Wonder Woman 84 even came out that that she would only do another one, and then that's it. It was concluding the trilogy. So this isn't news to me. Like, I don't know why it seems to be news to other people. I guess maybe people think because they feel as though 84 was a flop that somehow contracts would have been rewritten, or like somehow they were waiting to see if this bombed or not to rehire Jenkins. I mean, I don't feel like that's what it was. Although, of course, you know, when it comes to Hollywood, anything is possible. So, you know, I guess nothing is really ironclad in terms of contractual obligations on either side. So, you know, I guess it could have changed, but I was not surprised by that. I don't know why. It was weird to me that people are making uploads, trying to clickbait these titles like it's news, but I don't know, it doesn't feel like that to me. So yeah, I don't think that it did poorly enough the way, again, people are making it out to have done. It hasn't performed poorly enough for them to recast the director or the lead actress, who is legit part of everything else. So I don't think that is really a thing that you need to worry about. So, alright, so moving on. So we've got the Batman situation going down. So we're going to have Robert Pattinson's Batman, like I said, in Earth 2, and Ben Affleck's Batman, or whoever gets recast, in Earth 1. I'm so very interested to see how they're going to recast and how that is going to be introduced. Is Flash going to also then go into another world that's not Pattinson's world? Okay, and it's not where the Joker comes from. Or it could, who knows, but it's supposedly not where the Joker comes from, which also, I question, what world is the Joker from then? Because if Gal Gadot and Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill's characters are on Earth 1, and Robert Pattinson's Batman is on Earth 2, and Joker's film had no correlation or link to the Batman, Robert Pattinson, or the new universe, like the OG universe, then where does the Joker fall in? Is there now an Earth 3? Like, is it really just going to keep going and have, like, Earth 10, like, at some point? So that was interesting to me, because apparently they said that he has no connection. Now, I thought they could have, if they wanted to, they could have somehow made the Joker be a part of the Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves Batman, but they've made it clear that it's not. So I thought that could have fallen in the same timeline. It definitely couldn't have fallen in the same timeline with the Ben Affleck Batman, obviously. And also, it's really interesting to me, again, if we have, you know, Batman on Earth 1, then we've got Keaton's Batman. So there must have been there's obviously another Earth at some point there, because of the time period that it exists in. So to me, there's like already 4 Earths, I think, but there's only 2 that you guys supposedly need to worry about. So to me, it's a little bit confusing, and I think that they need to do a better job of explaining that to audiences as well, because, you know, they want to release 4 films a year, 4 major franchise films a year, and they're going to literally have the Ben Affleck Batman, whoever is recast. So there's going to be, you know, Wonder Woman and Superman and the Justice League basically fighting on the big screen. And then simultaneously, you're going to have Robert Pattinson as Batman as well, also on the big screen. So you're going to have two different Batman franchised films simultaneously in theaters. Now, when I say simultaneously, I don't mean literally the same week of release, but we're going to say in the same year, probably. So that's going to be a lot, and that could be very confusing to a mainstream audience, and I think that they have to work really hard to make that work and do it really well. Now, in saying that, I don't have any concerns thus far with the Pattinson film. The Pattinson film looks really good, actually. He looks like he will do a good job. He looks good as Batman. He sounds good as Batman. When I say he looks good, I mean, like, I like the suit, I like the car, I like the way he sounds, I like the way he moves. That was really cool to see how he's obviously studied how Batman moves physically. But, we'll see how that movie goes. We're still a long way away from that. So it would be really interesting, and I hope that never happens, but there are going to be comparisons when you're doing this, because you're going to be splitting the DC fandom between two Batmen. Like, literally, there's just going to be two Batmen, so people are going to sit there and they are going to make comparisons, and one of them might get favored over the other, and it would be very, I feel like, tragic if people favored Pattinson's Batman and then don't favor this newly cast Batman. I think it's very risky that they're doing this, although, to be fair, I kind of understand why they are. I don't really see another way out. I mean, they could have obviously incorporated Pattinson and just replaced Ben with Pattinson, but they're not doing that for some reason. It's completely separate. That could be because of creative differences in the filmmaking process with Matt Reeves and all that. So they're not doing that, basically. So there's going to be comparisons, and again, so whoever they cast, there are big shoes to fill, and it's very critical and important, not just for the Batman character, because hey, we're going to have another one, and we're going to have a Batgirl, so you guys are going to have plenty of variety when it comes to the Batman universe, but it's also very important for the Justice League and the remaining DC characters that circle around Batman and that rely on him very much so to complete this group. So whoever they cast has to do a good job, and I just really hope that it does well. So what do you guys think of basically DC's version of the multiverse? So DC is going to have that going through Flash, obviously. MCU is going to have that going through Doctor Strange. They're both going to now have TV shows through streaming providers that are going to be like spin-offs. So they're going to link to the films or give hints to the films or feature actors or actresses from the films. For example, we're going to have an Amazon's either TV show or film also, which obviously is a direct spin-off from Wonder Woman. There's going to be a Suicide spin-off in a TV series. There's also a TV series coming called, I think it's Lois and Clark. So there's going to be a Superman TV series, which is really interesting. I think most people are wondering where the fuck the next Superman film is. Like, where is Man of Steel 2? Like, what is going on with Cavill? That's what we want to know. So I'm not too concerned about a show that's going to be coming out on the CW called, Superman and Lois, or Clark and Lois, or whatever it's called. Although it's kind of interesting. Oh, and if it's coming out on CW, I'm 99% sure it's going to be a live action. So there's a lot going on, and it's not like there hasn't been a Superman show going on while there was a major franchise of the Superman film character played by Henry Cavill. That's obviously been going on the CW, and that's entirely separate from the DC universe. This time, though, they're going to have HBO Max exclusive shows and films that are directly going to link into the universe, so into the bigger franchises. So that's going to be different, and it's kind of a major thing, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see where they go with it, what stories they want to tell, and who they cast, and how they're going to narrate this and tell it. So I'm very interested to see that. So what do you guys think about the multiverse of the DC? What do you guys think about having two major Batman on the big screen at the same time? That's going to be crazy. Also, so to recap from memory, we are having obviously Wonder Woman 3 coming out. We have Suicide Squad 2 coming out. We have the Flash film coming out. We have Aquaman 2 coming out. We have so Static Shock potentially coming out, Batgirl coming out, Snyder Cut coming out. So there's a lot of content. In terms of the spin-off series, we've got the Amazon, I don't know if it's going to be called that, but we've got the Amazon's either TV series or film. I think it might be a TV series. I think it'd be cool if it was a TV series. We're going to also have a Batman spin-off TV series, which is centered around the GCPD. So that's going to be really cool. I really hope they do that as live action as well, not some animated thing. That would be really, because it's 25 divided by live and animated. So I really hope that is going to be live action. That would be really cool to see, like the GCPD, like these characters in the comic books and the animated come to life. That would be really cool. So those are obviously going to be streaming on HBO Max. So you guys in America, if you're watching this, need to get HBO Max. The rest of us can't get it, so that's gonna suck. That's also weird to me that they divide audiences that way, and they really need to get a deal going with HBO Max to provide it worldwide so we can all enjoy that. So, you know, obviously in Australia, I can't get HBO Max. Or can I? But anyway, so, you know, I'm gonna find a way to find these films and watch them. But I really wish they would make it a lot easier for people to support the industry and support Warner Brothers and Warner Media with their projects through providing the services worldwide. That would be really great. Did you guys hear that bird? It's like midnight here nearly, there's a bird flying around. It's New Year's Eve, so in Melbourne at the moment, so I expect there's going to be much more crazy noises coming from outside besides that bird. But that bird has the right idea. He's like, nah, I'm out. Like, it's the end of 2020. We don't know what's going to happen. So I salute you. Goodbye, sir. You got the right idea. Anyway, so yeah. So what do you guys think about all that information? I'm sure I've missed something. I've probably forgotten something. I tried to recap as much of it for you as I could. It was a lot, and I just felt like I really wanted to discuss it and talk to you guys about it. So I want to talk with you about it, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this discussion. Please feel free to comment down below and tell me what you guys think of all of this, or if you've heard anything else, and how you feel about what is happening and what is coming up in terms of the direction that DC is going. So comment down below. Don't forget to thumbs up this upload if you enjoyed it. Again, feel free to go back and watch my other Batman discussion. And yeah, I will keep you guys updated with more news as I hear it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't to get all this information. And I will see you guys soon. Happy New Year to everybody.